Let us welcome our e-commerce panel for today. We have Mr. Rahul Nivarkar, Mr. Krishna Mehta, and Mr. Dhiman Shah. Can you please come on stage? Mr. Navarkar, CEO of NDTV's latest venture, IndiaRoots.com, and co-founder of India's groundbreaking e-commerce portal, Fashion and You. My question to him for today is, tell us about the concept of India Roots.
So the concept, essentially, when I started talking to NDTV to partner with them to look at e-commerce, we started with looking at the domestic market. But having done Fashion and You, and when I looked at the landscape, I saw a lot of challenges. One of the key things in domestic e-commerce currently in India is when you look at online, the first word that comes to mind is a deal, or you look at electronics, and then when I look at the other challenge is what we call COD, cash on delivery. So when we started Fashion in You 2009, COD was one of the biggest enablers of e-commerce in India. Unfortunately, today it's one of the biggest issues in e-commerce because culturally in India we're quite okay to say no to an order that we ordered a week back. What that leads to is a lot of returns. And in case of ethnic or in designer apparel, if I've made something specially for a customer and the customer ends up saying no, that's dead inventory. So when we looked at all those challenges and I looked at NDTV as a brand, so I discovered that it's a good channel in India, but it's a brilliant channel outside India because NDTV was one of the first few ones to go outside India and is on the basic tier in most of the countries, including US, UK, Canada. And then we saw this gap for designer and ethnic wear products for Indians who are living outside the country, which is where Indian Roots got born. We've gone live in August. We're about 5 months old now. We are essentially a curated marketplace for Indian sensibility products for the global Indian. We sell to Indians outside India. We are also there in India, but it's not a focus area for us. Currently, we have split the site into two. So if you type from India, you get an Indian IP, which is the .in site. And if you type from anywhere out in the world, you will get the .com site. Going forward, what we will do is, if you're in US, you'll see a different banner, and if you're in UK, you'll see a different banner. What it will enable a lot of designers to do is create and place stuff according to the geography. So we can customize the homepage to showcase a different collection in US versus a different collection in Australia, depending on weather or taste. I'm recently learning, and I can be very wrong, is that in UK, Indians prefer a lot more blingy stuff. So on the lehenga, they want a lot of Swarovski, whereas in US, they want more understated stuff. It's just a generic trend that we are seeing. So going forward, we'd like to place different collections on those sites. We're very young right now. So we are essentially a platform which is giving a chance to an upcoming designer to talk to the Indian audience across the world. E-commerce as a business, I see it as a huge enabler for young talent because previously, before you had an online option, if you wanted to talk to audiences, you needed a lot of investment to go into offline stores. Today, if you have a creation, you can put it online and you can talk to your customer directly anywhere in the world.
So it'd be great if you could give us some guidance in terms of how you see e-commerce businesses evolve, and also in terms of how you see differentiation as a key to create a successful online business.
Yeah, I think in our case, because of my experience in the industry, being design director at Good Earth and Westside and a whole bunch of brands, we're not really an e-commerce site. I think India Service is more brand that's online.
Right.
We're not interested in trading other people's products. We're interested in trading what we design. So I think the key is it starts off with something called vertical integration, where you actually create the product at the start, and then you produce it and then you sell it. When you do that, you're basically in control of the entire product from the start. So the reason why you see a differentiation there is because we own all the design, we own the production, we own the delivery as well. So the general look of the site is something that's special compared to, say, another site that's trading multiple products, multiple people, which there might be another site also doing the same thing. So in our case, to answer your question, we own design first, and then we sell it. Of course, understanding markets, understanding how the newness needs to be there all the time. We're now changing design every 3 months. Fast fashion is a key word I've heard today as well. So that's really how we do it.
And what are the key challenges that your team actually incurred in terms of creating a venture such as this?
But the challenge now is actually restocking in time. We've gone through a phase where we've had, during Diwali, we were entirely sold out. It was out of control. We're just about coming back on track. We're introducing a lot more new products. I think the challenge for us is actually keeping the freshness on the site. We've noticed that unlike retail, people want newness all the time. So we have, from the repeat buy percentage, we feel that if there's more new stuff all the time, people keep buying. So my board designers are sitting day in and day out just creating design, and then of course the merchandising team is creating the product. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges. Right. And obviously, also I think understanding what is selling and how much you need to produce of it and what's going to happen in 3 months, in 2 months, in 6 months, how that works is actually quite, I'm fascinated. And I've actually come from a brick and mortar scenario. So when I see the way the online industry works, it's fascinating.
What's also exciting is that, traditionally there's a saying that, designer clothes are very difficult to sell online because of price points. And that's something which, you being a designer have created something, wonderful on that front. Secondly, also with, Rahul, your side, how difficult has it been to really, sell online garments and, sell high price point products? And what are the elements that or features that you think are important for that?
So that we recently sold a Pranavi Kapoor shawl for 11 lakhs and the total order value was 19 lakhs. For us, what is good is it's a Pranavi Kapoor and not a well-known designer. If we had sold Nita stuff, they would say, oh, it sells on its own. What we realized is it's about how you present. It's about the story. So these shawls are basically heirloom pieces on which the designers spend time restoring it and all. And this is the first time my content person actually said, no, we don't shoot it in a studio. We go to an Imrana fort or somewhere and we showcase it in a different way. So we have a full banner for one product with a lot of content written about it and all of that. And this NRI who bought it, he was browsing, he just came across, he liked, he read the stuff, he just paid for it. So what we have realized is if you curate the catalog also very well, it works brilliantly. I personally feel it's a myth. Price point is not an issue if it is presented well. Also in our case, what works is the NDTV tag. So people are okay to give us 19 lakhs in advance and then wait 3 weeks for delivery. If I was just Indian roots, I doubt anybody. They would have said, send it and then I'll pay you cash. But it's primarily what we have understood, it's how you present it, how you curate, and again, the neighborhood around that brand.
Also, Dhiman, what's very interesting is that stylecracker.com is probably one of the first sites, and actually I think the first site, which I've seen, which is actually focusing on fashion services online. Right. And it's a very different concept because, 2-3 months back, we saw the event that you did at Tote, and it created a lot of buzz online. It'd be great if you could highlight, some more in terms of the kind of work that your site is doing and, what is the entire vision behind creating this site.
Most of you who don't know, we are also very new. We're just a few months old, and it's been founded by Archana Valavalkar and myself. She's a personal stylist, and we thought, why not take personalized styling and make it available to everybody, right? There are tons, everyone knows, there are tons of online stores that are selling products. It comes with its own challenges. It's scalable at a certain rate and clip. No one had done what we were doing, and we thought there was a market for this. So we went out with this little bit of proof of concept website. It worked. We had about 6,000 sign-ups in a very, very short period of time. We have users asking us just a whole load of really interesting questions, which gives us great insight into consumer thinking. Just recently we had a user who said, I don't dress conservatively, but I'm newly married and I'm going to Goa with my in-laws who are very conservative people. So I don't want to lose my individuality, but I don't want to offend them either. So can you just help me pack a bag? So we help them pack a bag online, essentially, virtually. So it also gives us a brilliant platform. And I think a little bit of what Sid was saying, it gave us a great platform to introduce a lot of brands, designers, and products to these users. Just before we came in here, we were talking, a couple of us were talking at the back, and the battles aren't won in Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore. We call it tier 2, it's tier 1. Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore are tier 4. I think you'll agree with me too. So that's where we focus. We want to help the girl sitting in Chandigarh and Nasik and Ludhiana and Kochi and help them look the best version of themselves and be the best version of themselves. So that's what we've been doing. And in addition to that, we do, Online is great, but we try to build a little bit of a hybrid model where we do a lot of offline things too. So we had, I think what Sid was referring to, the Stylecracker Borough, where all London files in our team. So we've named it after the Borough Market, it's a pop-up shop where we curated a bunch of really good upcoming designers. Nishka was part of it, Arpita Mehta, Bansri Mehta, Payal Singhal. I mean, we had about 40 designers. Footfalls were great. We had close to 2,000 people coming out in one day. Sales, it converted huge number of sales. So I think it all just fits in and comes together nicely for us as a platform, and very, very closely linked to personalized styling. That's our core. That's what we focus on. And it's been really, really encouraging. So it's been great recently.
Another concern or query that always comes with online services is that styling being such a personal service, people do tend to prefer a touch and feel for that, or to have someone who can advise them, guide them. So has that been an issue in terms of the uptake for the site?
We thought it would be, honestly. It hasn't been. And we are in the process of investing heavily in our technology. If we leverage technology, and I think if anyone leverages technology in the right way, people are open to it. If they're getting the best in class service over the internet, I think people are open to it. I'd love to hear everyone else's view, but I think people are open to it, and our platform is showing that they are open to it. So we thought it would be a challenge, but it's not so much.
Krishna, what's interesting also is that from online we've seen that internationally, there are a lot of designers who's largely selling online, and some statistics also rated that Versace's 70% business is really online. Do you see a similar trend happening in India, or do you feel that in India, it's still going to be more of brick and mortar, and then online is going to take some time to take on, or you think it's already taken on in a big way?
Interesting question, but actually online to me is, even in our business vertical, online is just one way of doing something. We have online, we have physical, we are launching physical stores as well, we have presence in West Side and a whole bunch of other stores. I think a customer, particularly where India Circus is concerned, I feel that most people knew of the kind of work I did. It was easier for them to buy the product. But like this gentleman was saying earlier, actually it's the B towns and the C towns that are very exciting in terms of how people are buying product from there, which is what's interesting.
Another thing which is very interesting, Rahul, is that with respect to selling designer clothes online, a lot of people, at least in our business also, we've seen prefer the service angle coming in more importantly, because they want someone to interact with on a regular basis when it comes to high price points. So with Indian Roots, how much of that service element has really come into selling high price products?
See, so that when you sell online is just, it's a way of reaching to a customer. Once you get that order, everything else is just like regular retail. So in our case, whenever we sell a high price designer garment, it's more consultative. We keep getting a lot of mails from customers saying, oh, will this be available in this size? Can this be customized to my taste? All of that. And we chat with the designer and get them. And in most cases, we have an in-house designer who gets on a Skype chat with the customer. And it's mostly a consultative sale that happens. So only the front end is different. Everything else is the same.
Rahul, hi.
Hi.
Do you think that e-commerce, since we're talking about future, will cut the footfall in stores?
I don't think so, honestly. I'll tell you what I see as a trend nowadays. People go in the mall, go to the shop, try out the stuff, and then go and order online. That's what's happening. And also, if you look at a country like India, the sheer geography, how many stores can you open? When all these guys go out and become, how many stores can you open physically? But yes, like Krishna has been saying, when you have an offline store, I don't know about the global trend, but in India, if you see something solid, then that gives you credibility. Yeah. Unfortunately, in online, the biggest challenge sites like ours face is from sites which are fakes. So there's a site we were discussing in Punjab called Digas.com, which is selling fake stuff online. Now that site is going to cut down into the business of all the genuine sites. Because once you order from a fake site, you get something fake, that leads to a credibility problem for other guys. Online, everybody assumes it's so cheap to just put up a storefront.
True.
The biggest thing I encounter is a lot of people coming and saying e-commerce, to set up an e-commerce site is very cheap. You come to my office and see my cost.
I have been encouraging a lot of clients to shop online so that we save that time of personal shopping, going out to a mall. I sit with their comfort, sit down, shop, and we are done.
No, but Siddharth, I keep getting this question every time, that touch and feel. I have been in e-commerce since 2009.
Right.
I don't think that question is valid anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think. But yes, what happens is if you know the brand, then you are quite okay to shop online. When you don't know the brand, then all these issues will come up.
And interestingly also, we're on the co-founders of Fashion and You, and that predominantly started as a fashion designer site, went to a lot of other different products, then went to do deals to some extent. Indian Roots is more in terms of, just pure play exclusive designer products as of now. So how's the transition been, and what have been the key learnings in the entire thing?
So I'll tell you, when we started Fashion and You, we took a template called Flash Sales, which is Vent Privat or Guild from US and France, and this replicated it in India. And at that point, the market was very nascent. So what we wanted at that point is, when I say, I'm going to sell you a t-shirt, you would say all the touch and feel questions would come in. I say it's an Armani at 70% off. You say, oh, send it. मुझे fit नहीं आएगा, किसी को दे दूँगा 70% off है. It was that era. Today, it's a much more mature market. Especially when we started with designer wear at full price MRP. We had all those issues. But two things I think worked for us. One, we had all the big name designers. So people knew they could not go wrong ordering from those designers. And we had the NDTV tag where we were more scared of screwing up the order. Because we would get sued.
My question to either of you on the panel is that, for the longest time we've heard that, putting up an online store is more lucrative for business than today having a store with all the workings and everything that goes beyond it for an entrepreneur. So for the students or for the young entrants of fashion, would you say that putting up their online store would be the first venture into entrepreneurship?
See, I would say, Neeta, again, as I was just mentioning, unfortunately, you are an unknown brand, even as a designer, and you start off purely with online, then what's your credibility? Unless you have won Student of the Year, whatever award you have won something. If you have credibility, online is a great medium. Otherwise, you need a physical presence, especially in India, where people can come check you out. And then it's a great medium to scale.
Online has a gestation period that people underestimate. It's not like you set up a website and tomorrow you're going to be having 1 million views or unique views or anything to your website. It takes a ton of time. And I think, as Rahul said, he's in the best place to answer this, that when it's a known designer, taking it online, it's a great medium to scale. When it's someone who's new and fresh, I think you do need to do a little bit of, have an offline presence first and then come online.
Recently, this lady from US wrote to us saying, I'm seeing this Sabyasachi lehenga to some 3,80,000 rupees. So this looks like size 34. I'm size 36. Can it be customized too? So my obvious reaction was, of course. But I said, let's check with the designer. So we checked with the designer, and there was an additional cost of 52,000 rupees. My immediate reaction was, 2 inches, 52,000? What She's like, no, you just tell, this is it, Rahul. So, darte we wrote to the customer. Customer said, that's fine, will it get done? What I have learned in e-commerce, honestly, Neeta, is that when it's a big brand, price is not an issue. When it's not a big brand, price is the biggest issue. So people are okay to spend lakhs on a known brand, but the moment it's an unknown brand or if it's a young designer, then even if you say 3,500, they'll say, why 3,500? So that story you need to build.
Can I also just add to that quickly? In the first Stylecracker Burrow we had a girl who got in touch with us on our platform saying, hey guys, I saw you all doing this Burrow. I want to buy Arpita Mehta stuff. So we said, okay, we'll take pictures and send you what she has there. And we did it. We had the technology, so we could do it. It was quick. So we said, all right, now what? Where do we send it? And she said, if you can send it to Ahmedabad, send it tomorrow, or else send it to New York day after, or anytime 3 days from now. So if you have the brand, and I think if you have the product, people from all over the world will buy the product at whatever the price.
I think what you guys are saying is more relevant to India.
Yeah.
Because for India Circus as a brand, we sell about 3,000 products a day in Europe.
Right.
Now, in Europe, no one's heard of us.
Right.
When we go onto other websites, we sell through other websites. We have events with fab.com and a whole bunch of sites, and they do very well with our product. So that's actually quite interesting how an unknown brand, however well known we are here, an unknown brand has that kind of celebrity in the market that...
These are non-Indians, right?
These are all Westerners,
right.
yeah. So obviously, of course, design is key and price is key. And then, of course, the world's your market, really. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in fact, a lot of people do mention, that marketing expenses are the highest when it comes to online stores. some guidance in terms of how much are we spending on marketing and make some successful. When would you really get that inflection point for a new site? Wherein you can really, say that to some extent you've got some traction.
So again, coming from brick and mortar, I just feel that it was so easy to say, "Acha, wo main ad dalo, end of story." When you're doing it online, it's madness. And I have an interest in this. I have no reason to be interested in this, but I have an interest in seeing how the team functions, and it's incredible how targeting and retargeting and all the spends you do a day. Even there are days you could be spending up to 3-4 lakhs a day just marketing, a day. And if you make one mistake, that 1 lakh rupees is just gone. You target the wrong person, target the wrong audience, whatever is just finished. So it's marketing online is extremely interesting, but at the same time, I think social media plays a very important role. How you work your Facebook, how you work your Twitter, how you work your Instagram, how you work all this, and to me, that's also very fascinating. For instance, if we put up something on Instagram, at least there'll be 8 to 10 conversions from that one post. So, because you're showing something to someone to do something in a more casual environment versus a more sort of marketing-driven environment. So, I think you have to play your spends well in when you spend the money, and then the way you control your social media at the same time both of these have to work hand in hand. That's when you have a winning formula. I mean, I have friends who tell us we see India Circle everywhere. I think it's just the way the marketing team is functioning and how it's sort of getting out there in terms of social media, in terms of online marketing that works for us.
So basically, I meet a lot of young designers and brands nowadays across the country. And I was sitting with somebody yesterday in a place called Trichy in Kerala. And he's saying, you are saying so much. I've got my website ready for 2 lakhs. So now why do I need to go on Indian Roots? I said, have you heard of buying Google AdWords? He had never heard of it. He said, no, I will put up a Facebook page. So a lot of brands assume that just because they go online or they have a page on Facebook, people are just going to run down and come to their site. They have not heard of buying traffic. They have not heard of how much Google charges, bidding and all of them. They have not heard of. And these are huge expenses. I meet so many brands who say, "Hi, yaar, ye Facebook pe like to ho gaya, but isse dhande mein kya farak pada hai, samajh nahi aa raha." So you might have 10,000 likes on Facebook. Is it converting? You don't know. And honestly, some of the biggest brands I've met, they have a social media team. Unfortunately, the top management has no clue how my social media head is a 24-year-old guy who walks into office at 1 p.m. And sometimes when I have some senior guy visiting, he says, ye bacha, he's your head. But he gets it. So a lot of brands have not understood online. They have not understood how expensive, and Google is very smart. And it's the only game in town, so you have no other competition. So they make you bid for keywords, and then even if you are, it's India Circus or Indian Roots or a small designer, you're all bidding against the Jabongs and Mintras and Flipkarts of the world who have limitless cash. So bringing traffic, and when I say traffic, relevant traffic online is the biggest expense in this space. Secondly, if you look at conversion rates, what do you think is a conversion rate for any decent site? When I say conversion rates, you got 1,000 people to come to your site. How many actually bought? What do you think is a typical conversion rate? It's point something, you're lucky.
Oh my God.
You're lucky if you have that kind of a conversion rate. So it's a very, very expensive medium. The biggest challenge, he's lucky to have a good team. The biggest challenge is to find the right talent in this space. It's very scarce, people who understand. E-commerce. Again, e-commerce, my favorite thing is it's like you have set up a Udupi hotel. You've started, now it has to work every single day, 365 days of the year. Half the guys burn out. Because they realize that after the first 3 months, that you did 4 lakhs today, great, you have to do 4 lakh plus next day, and the next day, and the next day. To find the relevant talent in this space is the biggest issue for everybody. But if you are smart, if you know how to use social media well, and you click a right picture and it goes viral quickly, you will do it cheaply. You just need to have the smarts to understand what works or what doesn't.
What do you feel about that?
I agree. It's tremendously complicated. It's not a simple thing to actually get your site out. If your site tends to be a little more innovative in the product you're giving or the products you're providing, it's easier to cut through the clutter, but it's cluttered, right? It is just cluttered out there. Everyone today, you type white shirt and you'll get 1 million pages of white shirts, right? So it really depends on how you position your product and your brand, and I think Rahul touched upon this earlier too, right? That your brand positioning is really important. The other thing he touched upon is a motto which we follow with such rigor internally is Facebook likes, Twitter followers, Instagram followers is vanity. which we don't care, I don't care about, and our team has no patience for. The only real metric for us is the signups, right? Everything else is vanity. So I can get 10,000 Facebook likes, but if I get one sign up, I don't care for the 10,000 Facebook likes, right? It's vanity. So I think to answer it, it is very complex, and finding talent is a big challenge. A lot of my time goes on the marketing effort because that's where we really need to be lasered in and honed in on if you want to scale at a certain clip.
Yeah, I think registration is key. I mean, we have campaigns that just run for registration. When you register on a website, you control the email ID of that person. Then the communication is going directly to that person. So registration is one of the most important things. How you build up your internal database without actually buying it. The more people who register on your site, the more people you can email every day or every second day, and the more people want to convert eventually.
And just to come back to Dhimad on that, what Stylecracker was very important, very interesting also, is that while it is a service-based site, at the same time you are also creating database, a lot of brands that are getting in touch with, a lot of designers that are getting in touch with. So do you see your strategy change from a service-driven to product-driven site in some way? How do you see that evolve, or still too early? But I'm sure you had these discussions.
I just got yelled at actually. I'm laughing, and I think they're laughing because I got yelled at by them last night. We had a really long day, and it was 10 p.m. and we had just finished something, and I brought this topic up. And we went into a downward spiral again where we don't know, it's very early. The answer is it's very early. Right now, our pure focus is to delight the user. The user needs to come on the Stylecracker and come back on the Stylecracker and come back on the Stylecracker and come back on the Stylecracker. We track it very rigorously. Our strategy is to, of course, as you said, the more users that are coming, we need more products and more brands and just more very cool designers to show to them, right? We do another thing is where we actually incorporate their wardrobe into it. So if you already have this blue shirt, and then you ask us a question or we're interacting with you that has to do with the blue shirt, we first look into your wardrobe and say, don't go buy a 10th blue shirt. We just tell you how to wear this one in 10 different ways. Now it's more relevant for a woman than for you because she can tie it, she can, many ways. You and I shouldn't get into it. So working with brands is becoming very, very, very important for us. And a lot of brands have been approaching us recently. I mean, in fact, most of the emails we get, most of the communication we get are from brands saying, hey, let's do something together. You now have this audience that's coming to you and trusts you and coming back to you. So why not think about doing something together? So it's still too early to say, let's see where we go.
And also, for example, let's say with Indian Roots, there were a lot of established designers on board. With, with India Circus, Krishna Mehta is a known name in the industry for a very long time. With Stylecracker, you'll have a lot of young crowd which is there, which is very well known. But typically also, maybe a lot of younger designers who are probably known in the tier 1 towns, let's say metros like Bombay and in, Delhi. But penetrating the smaller markets, and which is to some extent a target audience also, how is that strategy laid out?
It's actually easier. When we hire also, you hire a stylist with a lot of experience, and I'm going to go back to what your question, but when you hire a lot of stylists with a lot of experience, they come with a ton of preconceived notions also about how things should be done. Given the nature of our platform, that might be right, that might not be right. Changing that mindset is difficult. When we go out to customers in the tier 2 and tier 3 towns, they don't come with preconceived notions. They're not so convincing the Bombay customer to buy a not so well-known designer is in some ways more challenging. Here, the customer or the user is trusting Stylecracker because a lot of questions are very budget-related. Now, I can't get them a Sabyasachi sari in 5,000 rupees. So what happens is that the users start trusting us a lot in introducing us to the right designers and brands, in introducing them to the right designers and brands. So it's not so much of a challenge, actually. It takes less convincing when you go out to tier 2 and tier 3 towns.
How much of a campaign, like, now I was seeing something on television where they said that the era of supermodels have got over, and now the actors who've come in. But to me, when I see an actor wearing an outfit, I can't relate myself to an actor because I see an actor on screen. So do you feel that if you do a campaign with common people, is it more feasible, or do you feel an actor comes more feasible to sell a product, online, offline?
you are in a minority. Unfortunately, most of the Indians relate more to a brand. So if you go to a market called Surat, you walk into in the huge market, it's got about 300-400 stores. You'll see Dabang sarees, you'll see Sonakshi sarees. It's a reference point. So again, as I said, if you go, as I was talking, the biggest market for e-commerce is outside the metros in terms of growth. And these are people who relate, and Bollywood is still the biggest, my personal feeling is the biggest influence on fashion so far. For a lot of Nita stuff, we get saying, oh, Sridevi wore that, wo chahiye mujhe. I still meet, out of 10 people I made who refer to Sabya, they refer to me as Vidya Balan, you can do designer and Rahul Bhai. For them it is that, and that is the reason they are paying that amount.
Just to add to that, about maybe 15% of the interactions we have with users are users showing us references of Bollywood stars and saying, right, but I can't spend 1 lakh on this look, huh? But my budget is 5,000, 10,000, this, that. So make it work within that, but to sell it and to really get it out there, Bollywood is still, fortunately, unfortunately, a really, really, really massive medium. And use it. I mean, there's no harm in leveraging it. It's a good place to be.
Any new fresher or as a budding designer or anyone comes to you, says, sir, I just want to start my career, so can I cater to your online service, or what are the areas that you look into? As in, if I'm a fashion aspirant, I'm just beginning, it's my first step, so what are the things that you expect from me, and what am I supposed to service you?
See, 2 things. One is, do you have the eye to get a product which will work? So when we launched, this lady approached us who was a designer, who was not a trained designer. She was an engineer, Tanushri Podar, and she launched a brand called 7 Karigar Gali. And she bought products which my team said will work brilliantly at that price point. We sold out our entire catalog. Now, unfortunately, the only challenge that we have, which we now check, is once we had sold out our entire stock, she said, now I'll take 6 more months to create everything else. And in e-commerce, that's the biggest challenge, as even Krishna was mentioning, that, see, technically what sells the most. And when it's sold out, I need the ability to replenish it also quickly.
Yeah, correct.
And that's the challenge we have with young designers, because resources are limited. The ability to replenish stock is a challenge.
There's just a lot of mobile apps and iPad apps are coming in.
Yeah.
So what future does it have? Because I have a friend who make apps and all for this, but then how does it show? Like, I've seen Kenzo's site, and there's an iPad app for women and all. So how does it work with us, right?
So 2 things. Normally, whenever nowadays anybody makes a new e-commerce site, we call it responsive design, which means it will adapt to whatever device you're watching it on, adapt to that size. Unfortunately, in India, you still can't do transactions through, it's a challenge, because unlike Amazon and outside, there's no single click. So if I have to do a transaction with a credit card, then I have to wait for an SMS to come, and all that thing has to happen. So far it's not taken off in a big way, but considering the amount of mobile phone numbers in India and all, everybody's just waiting for government regulation to ease off, and this will take off.
You said websites don't know how to market themselves. So since they only interact with consumers through a digital interface, how do you think 2 websites can differentiate each other from,
You're asking me my trade secret. See, again, as I said, it is, if you ask me what essentially I'm saying, you're saying is, why does one site work and why does the other one don't? Essentially, it's the team behind the site. It is, as Krishna said, if he's got a brilliant marketing team, even if he has less resources, he might shine through, and I might put the biggest amount of money. So when we launched Fashion and You, 3 months after that, suddenly I got a mail saying India Today Group is entering e-commerce. And my first instant reaction was, oh shit. There's so much money, they're a big media player, they launched a site called Bag It Today. It went nowhere. Sometimes if you're a large corporate giant, you tend to screw up entrepreneurship big time, because your processes, all of that. It's the key thing that I've learned in life is it's about the talent. Talent which will work on a daily basis, because a lot of people who come from offline retail unfortunately don't work in e-commerce because their mindset is different. Offline retail at some point at 9 o'clock will shut down the store. My business starts at 9 p.m. because my audience in the US is waking up. So it's a 24/7 thing. A lot of youngsters work a lot well in e-commerce. Almost 85% of my workforce is young girls. It leads to a lot of emotional atyachar for me. But they work very well, they're more passionate. But at some point, some people tend to burn out. Some people have that in their DNA to keep doing it over and over. So if you have a great team, you will succeed.
I also think that the team is the most important, and I also work with a lot of young girls, and it also does give me a lot of stress, but it's great. I think, people often ask me that, don't you think other people will get into the space, and I hope it's placed correctly, but I'm supremely confident. I keep saying, I hope so. At least it'll create more of a market buzz for me. My team is untouchable, and your team is the most important, and I think that's where we're planning on focusing. I think everyone here, will focus mainly on the team. You have the talent, you can go places, you can do anything.
I think every website also needs to have its own unique proposition. Yeah. So I think certain websites that are successful over a long period of time have interesting things happening on them. They're promoting their designers interestingly. They're doing interesting things. I think a lot of, in India particularly, because the market's so nascent, one has to also undergo a process of educating the consumer by conducting workshops, by showing them visually how to do something. And I think that also plays a very important role. So the sites that are actually going to be leaders in the future are those that are also educating the consumer at the same time, so become a very important part of the retail sort of community. And as many Me Too sites come out, those sites can't be touched.
We have this different e-commerce sites like Fabulous 40 and all that. For a women who's above 40 of age, they have like specific mind they have, like what they want to wear, or else something for a teenage person. So how profitable is that as compared to something like Stylecracker, which would style anyone, or a designer e-commerce site? How like comparison, what profitability?
If you take a step back and kind of holistically look at the Indian market, right, the number of people in the age range of 18, 16, say to 35 is much, much higher, right? So while wallet size will be larger in the 40 plus, your volume is much larger in your 16 to 35 if you nail it again correctly. So it's a trade-off, and I honestly can't give you the right answer to this. Maybe Rahul can.
See, also look at the way our country has been changing in the last 10-15 years. Now people say, oh, life begins at 40. But also, if you look at it, especially from a woman's perspective, it is at 40, if you're a working woman, you have entered a new zone in terms of a career where you want to invest in looking good, and you travel a lot. Nowadays, Indians are traveling abroad. Exposure to media has gone up tremendously. So you want to be in and all of that. People are now okay to spend money. Earlier, I'm born in 1972. So in those times, it was, at 40, you go into a different zone. Now those times have changed. So a 40-year-old lady technically is more prone to spend much more on fashion than a teenager. A teenager, whatever experience I have, is also, let's look at what is called, as he said, fast fashion. So the ASP, average selling price, is lower, but it's more rounds. Whereas a 40-year-old woman would want to invest in a better brand, so to say.
And we're also changing on the other side of the coin, right? Where Rahul's social media head is 24 years old, who now has disposable income. He might not be buying brands, but he's spending money, and it'll be smaller ticket sizes, but there'll be a lot of recurring. Of course, it's not comparable to a 40-year-old. So I think, just to answer your question, both sides of the coin are developing very fast, and they're both markets in different ways.
I think the biggest challenge is actually creating a product that works well for sort of various age groups. Like in my case, for some reason now our accessories move so much faster, because a lady buys a cushion cover, then you're not going to buy a cushion cover another 2 months at least. So a lot of the design we create, the more slightly expensive product is a certain different design sensibility. The fast fashion, the personal accessory products are a different design sensibility. So by doing that, we're attracting 2-3 different types of consumers. We're actually attracting the 18-year-old college student who wants that iPhone cover, and we're attracting the auntie from Ludhiana who's buying 18 cushions at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Let's say a college student has an idea for an e-commerce startup. So how do we go about it? Get sponsors or start it up?
Nobody sponsors e-commerce site. You have investors. Best bet is to look at your own circle of family and friends and ask them to trust you and fund you. Having said that, after that, it's a completely subjective thing. If you're getting into home space, you can chat with Krishna offline, he can give you tips. See, there is no rocket science. Oh. It is a business that you're getting in. As I love to say, e-commerce is like a Udupi hotel. You start with a product which is idlis. You have to ensure your idlis are the freshest and the best. And then try and get people to come and sample them. Once they have done it, then 2 parts. One is you have to make sure they are fresh every single day. Because the day she has one bad experience with you like he had, she's not going to come back to you ever. She might not give up eating idlis, which is what he's planning, but she will not come to your shop ever. But you need to find more and more people to come in. And you need an operation which will ensure that the idlis remain fresh every single day. It's like that. But if you have an idea, let me give you one education. Nobody funds ideas. Money is always put on people. So whenever an investor invests in any of our businesses, they invest in us, not in the idea. Because 99% of the time, whatever business plan you write, the moment it meets the market, it completely changes. You have to adapt.
I think the other big point that we're learning is just focus, 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 focus. You can do a million things. Everyone can do a million things. We are India's first personalized styling company. That is what we will do. Personalized styling day in and day out, 24/7. And it just requires blinkers and focus. We could become online retailers. We could become many different things. It's not what excites us.
Do you have an idea? Do you have an idea for an e-commerce startup? Have you heard of the TIE, T-I-E, the Indus Entrepreneurs? So just Google the Indus Entrepreneurs. There's a Bombay chapter. Take a membership. They will guide you.